You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the July 1st meeting of the Michigan City Port Authority Commission. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Welcome to the Michigan City Port Authority Board of Directors meeting. I call the meeting to order, and I'm looking for approval or correction to June 17th, 2024 meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 17th, 2024.
I think we have a couple corrections. They're minor things, but Bruce presided over the meeting. Zach was absent, and it says on here that John was absent, but John arrived. John was here. Joe was absent, but anyway,
That's
minor
the
stuff, but
Yeah.
that's the corrections I
Yeah.
thought. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I try to make those before the meeting so that they can.
Yep.
I just caught them a little bit before arriving,
No
so.
problem.
I second with the adjustments.
All right, all in favor? Perfect. Moving on, comments from the public. Mr. Freeze, Mr. Cooper, anything? Nice seeing you guys, thanks for coming.
No.
All right, reports from the harbor master, Mr. Frank.
All right, we're still launching a few straggler boats here and there. We just put 3 in last week. I think we're pretty much caught up on that for the time being. So we've shifted over to just doing routine work orders. So that involves things like raising and lowering the finger piers, maybe adding or adjusting rub rails, maybe painting a finger pier, that kind of stuff. And then this week, a little bit last week, we're trying to tie up any loose ends before the 4th of July. Fireworks, of course, will be at dusk on the 4th. And unless anybody has any questions, that's all I have for now.
I have a couple, just a couple comments. One comment, one question. We had the finger pier issue come before us few weeks ago, and the idea was to start charging a little more for the finger piers to raise and lower the second time each season. And I was one who was very skeptical of increasing or making the increase we did. But I happened to be out there looking for Tim to ask him a question a couple weeks ago, and I saw what the work was that they were doing. And that was a lot of work. And I can understand that we would want to increase our fees a little bit to do that. So I just wanted you to know that I think what we did was the right thing to do. There was a lot of work involved in that. And then I had a question for Tim. As I drive by Trail Creek Marine, I noticed, this is within the last week, there are just a lot of boats still not in the water. I was wondering if you know of anything unusual happening. We storing a lot.
It seems odd, and I've noticed the same thing down here. We have a lot of slips that don't have a boat in them, though they're rented.
Wow.
So I don't know what's going on, but it seems unusual.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
All right, anybody else? Anything for us?
Down a couple notes, I noticed the concrete work out there has been started, looks nice, thank you for doing that. Also, I heard from boaters that there was a sage, pretty heavy last week one day, can you?
Yeah, so let's see, what day was that? Thursday, Wednesday, when do we have the big storms come through? Thunderstorms rolled through here, a big front.
Yep.
Well, we were getting 3 to 4 foot swing in the water out here in just minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the amount of time you stand there and watched, it would come way up and then drop way down, and over by the gap to get in and out the basin, you could actually see that the water in the basin was higher than the water in the creek. And it was going out like the Colorado River. And then it would turn around and come back in, and it basically did that back and forth all day.
So, Junior Sage.
Yeah.
Any damage to boats from that?
Well, a little bit here and there. A couple of them got wedged under, bow culprit got caught under a dock. If you don't tie up correctly, you can get in a bind. Jet ski got stuck under a finger pier. But, the water switches around, you get it back out, right? So, I didn't hear of anything major. but you do get a little bit. But it's unusual. You don't see that kind of thing to that extent very often. The water's always bouncing around, just depending on which way the wind's blowing. You can look at the wall and you'll see 6 inches of wet, and you look at it a half hour later and it's all dry. Well, it didn't dry, the water level came up, right? And so it does this. But to get 2 or 3 feet in a short period of time is
It's unusual.
quite something.
I saw that happen in Trail Creek before.
Yeah, oh yeah. It just all of a sudden it all runs out and then it comes all right back
That
in.
could have been the part of that guy's boat issue too.
Maybe.
Okay. That was caused by,
I think it was the storms. So you get a pressure difference. You know, Lake Michigan's 300 and some miles long. So if you get a high pressure at one end of the lake, low pressure at the other, you start getting this seesaw effect. And as you get those storms go across, that pressure or pressure shift rolls, and it's like getting your bathtub sloshing around, you know. And then it just takes a while for it to dampen down.
Kind of a tidal wave effect, but
Yeah,
not
I
without
see
the
it.
tidal wave.
Right.
in the basin where it goes up and over into the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
To come up that high.
Right.
That's been 11 years back, but
Right.
I do recall.
Well, we built that mound on the 600 because of the water level was
That's
that
right.
high at that one point a few years ago.
Well, thanks for the update on that.
All right, anything else for Mr. Frank? No? All right, Ms. Palicki, Assistant Harbor Master reports.
Nothing special, just the regular work orders and taking care of the customers, getting ready for the 4th of July. We did get some information from Mark Swisteth today about some sturgeons that are washing up on the beach, I think between stop 15 and 20.
Oh,
They've
wow.
had 4 or 5 of them. I just thought it was interesting, because you don't see many of them around here.
Wow. Big food.
There were some other pictures, but they'd been scavenged a lot. It was interesting. That's all I have.
This was in my handout, was if anything,
No, you gave it to me and I gave it back to you. It was hooked onto the.
oh, I didn't realize that. I thought it looked familiar. Thank you, Mary Ann.
All right, moving on.
I think I will.
You got it.
Do we know offhand if anybody's using that laundry service that we've approved of?
I haven't heard anything on it.
I think he said they picked up one so far and not much more. The last time I saw him 2 weeks ago. So,
Because I stopped at the laundry service we have here, I don't see any baskets or anything to
I have.
pick up or delivery, I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious about that.
well, the real holiday season starts this week, so, you know, that's, more vacations start happening
Yeah,
further
yeah.
into July than they do in June, so you might see an uptick there.
Were they advertising down here at all? Anything that we knew of?
I mean, we sent it out to the
Okay.
voters and now.
Curious. I know Mr. Ferguson asked about the amount of boats, and I noticed that too, on dry land. Do we have any salvage boats there that have been there for a few years and we salvage them off?
Yes, we're getting ready to start sending the paperwork out. We're doing an inventory now of Trail Creek.
Okay, so it looks like
Make
a
sure.
pretty good number? Or-
A lot of them people pay year-round
It's a
for
handful.
to
I
stay
wouldn't say
there.
it's a lot, but there's
Well,
a handful.
3 is a lot, maybe, to me?
No, it'd probably be 5 or 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
All different sizes and kinds,
Well, mostly sailboats.
mostly so.
They're up to date.
No, the ones she's talking about are not up to date.
Okay.
Right. A lot of the other ones are, even though to look at them, you wouldn't understand why.
It was Dad's boat, and he always had it there,
That's true.
so probably some of that.
That's all I have.
That's it. Alrighty. Moving on, Mr. Ferguson, budget and financial oversight review and approval of the bills to be paid.
Just take a look at the bills today, the cover sheet you get, which is the major items. That accounts for all but almost $4,300 of the $91,000 So if you just look at those as they come down, it's pretty much, there's a little blurb under most of them that kind of explain what's going on. Water, credit card for supplies, dig into that deeply anytime you want to. It just takes a little time to kind of dig out some of those charges, but we can do that anytime the board has questions. Grass cutting coming down, MB Electric, the rest of the repairs, I'm presuming just normal start of the season ones, late invoices.
Well, some of that, and sometimes we get a boat in a slip that needs a different socket configuration, right? So you get a boat that needs a 50 amp plug and we have two 30s in there, or vice versa.
Okay. All right, thank you. Didn't mean to shut you off there.
So you're good.
Coming down, security, almost 6,300 security, a couple of NIPSCO bills, because we have two main meters, I guess is the best way to say that. We have a lot of meters, but they're all billed, they're summarized into two invoices. We talked about this a couple of years ago, that we knew that the NIPSCO charges were going up, the rates were going up, and that the usage for the boats is going up. So while we're looking at $15,000, we knew that these were going to go up. They'd been averaging, I think, close to about 11 during the summer months prior to the last couple of years. So when you see this, it's within the realm, I think, of what we were expecting. I say that, I see head nods. Obviously coming down, we got fuel for resale, trash removal, lawn service, just a few refunds. And we're past that point in time where we really do many refunds, except for maybe some extraordinary reasons. So we shouldn't see much on refunds anymore. So unless there are a bunch of questions, make a motion that we pay the bills as listed for $91,563.11.
I'll second.
Any questions and comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Hand up. All right, Mr. Haynes is not present, and so there's no claims or insurance. Port operations, personnel-wise, I think everything's going really smooth as far as I haven't heard any issues with any personnel. I got the heartbeat of that guy, so he'd tell me right away. I did notice that on weekends you do have a lot more presence of younger people being around and helping out wherever they need to be, so that's a nice thing. I gotta commend the boater. Somebody pulled off the 800 dock and yanked off. Their hose must have still been attached on the boat and pulled off the faucet, and so he plugged the faucet, and you guys fixed it the next morning. So somebody actually can do something for themselves, so it's kind of nice. Unfortunately, they had to do it, but he was further west down the water line, so it was advantageous to him, so he still had water. So that worked out quite well. But it was just nice to hear that someone actually did something, instead of just waiting and pointing at it. So, and that's about all I had. So, Mr. Messina, Board of Communications and Special Events.
I had one, I don't know if it'd be a request, but asking me if we ever had a Venetian night. And I said, it's been a lot of years, I think, since we did. They were new here and said they would like to participate if we ever do. And I said, well, maybe we'll talk about it and everybody can keep it in mind. And maybe we'll put it in next year's budget for something like that if we see we have enough interest.
Yeah.
Doesn't that really originate towards the Yacht Club or something like that?
They have tried to do it in the past. Last year, I think Terry Creetham with the city initially tried to do it and then ended up canceling it for lack of interest.
Yeah, the problem is everybody wants to do it, but they won't actually sign up or commit ahead of time so you can get a good head count. That usually fails. That's been
Over the years, that's always been a nice thing to see. I don't follow your point on, I mean, I'm the budget guy with Mary Ann and Tim, but I don't understand why you would need for the Port Authority to set up a monetary sum out there for that.
like security.
Security, well, plus you have to have personnel. Yes.
Trophies.
Yeah, just something to keep in mind if we think it would be a go thing. I've seen more harbors up the lake that are having them again. Well, and this individual seemed to be interested. Maybe if we do see some interest in it, maybe he'd be in charge of organizing and running it. So something to keep in mind for future years.
Sure.
Well, maybe Chris could put that into his advertising and public relations budget. We should kick out something else so we don't own the bump it.
There you go.
That's all I have, unless anybody has anything for me.
Fishing all done, we got any more tournaments coming up, or?
Just, there's a couple at the Coho Club, just one-day events.
Yeah.
There's like 3 of them during the season, and it's the best of that, but it's not a,
Been pretty decent fishing this year?
it's been excellent, yeah. A lot of big fish being caught. Perch have started, I have yet to be out, it was gonna go out yesterday, of course, with the blow, so maybe later this week, but,
Yeah, you probably Saturday, Sunday might be the best for going back for perch again.
yeah, usually July is a good month, so.
Good, good. All right, Mr. Manor called in, he got indisposed, could not make it in time, so he's still tied up, he said. So Mr. Cypress, advertising and public relations.
Nothing new to report today.
And it's been a long time, but we got the excitement of the attorney's report. Mr. Zachman.
Thank you.
Glad to have you back.
Good to be back. I'm not sick, as I advised some of you. I had a kidney transplant, and so I'm on anti-rejection medicine, so they're suppressing my immune system, and so I have to be careful that I don't pick up any germs, viruses, bacteria, illnesses of any sort. So can everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay. The city has passed ordinance number 4733, and I think I emailed to everyone except I didn't have Chris's email address, but perhaps Marianne or someone forwarded it to Chris. There are a number of provisions in this ordinance which purport to bind the Port Authority. The issue is, however, that the Port Authority is an instrumentality of the state of Indiana, and it is endowed with a number of powers that it is entitled to exercise independent of any political subdivision, such as the city of Michigan City. We are not a creature of the city council or the mayor's office. Again, we're an instrumentality of the state created by a state statute. So, for example, according to the ordinance, each board member must execute the conflict of interest disclosure. Well, there's a board rule that already requires a conflict of interest disclosure. Here, we could make the argument that the board's rules govern whatever disclosures are necessary. However, we've got to keep in mind that we work closely with the city. The city provides our IT support. The city provides accounting services to us. When the State Board of Accounts audits the city, they audit us as part of the city. So we don't want to take a position that antagonizes the city, and we want to work cooperatively with the city. So my recommendation is each board member should fill out the disclosure form that the city has provided. You're not giving any additional information that we're not already providing. And this, I believe, will be publicly available, and so in the interest of transparency, it shows that this board doesn't have any conflicts. And that's good for us, it's good for the board, and so I recommend that we do it. Now, according to the ordinance, the Port Authority cannot maintain a social media account separate from the city and must close any such account. Now, when we think of social media, we generally think of Facebook, TikTok, Pinterest, Reddit, things of that nature. We have a website, and perhaps the city would take the position that our website is a social media account. Well, the city cannot enforce that provision of Ordinance 4733 against us. Why? Because again, according to the statute, we are an instrumentality of the state, and we have a number of enumerated powers which we can't exercise independent of any political subdivision. One of those is, and this is in IC section 81058A subpart 12, one of the powers that the Port Authority acting through its board of directors has is to promote, advertise, and publicize the Port Authority, the port, and its facilities. We are entitled by statute to have a social media account. Now, we don't have Pinterest, we don't have TikTok, we don't have Facebook. We do have a website. If the city were to take the position that we have to shut down our website or give control of it to the city, we can say, no, we don't. And we can point to a specific statutory provision which says we are entitled to do this independent of any political subdivision, meaning the city. The Port Authority must comply with Indiana's open door law. That's another portion of the ordinance. We're already bound by statute to do so. So whether or not the city had this ordinance, we've got to comply with the open door law. The board must submit to the mayor's designee, I forget who it is, but there is a designee, its final agenda at least 48 hours before a meeting, and if amendments have been made to the agenda, then as soon as practical, but no later than 48 hours after the meeting. And then also our minutes. So we approve our minutes from the prior meeting at the next meeting. So within 7 days of that approval. So for example, the minutes that were approved at this meeting, within 7 days have to be turned over to the mayor's designee, and I'll get the name of that for Mary Ann or whoever is going to be in charge of this. Again, I don't see any reason not to comply with this portion of the ordinance because it's transparency. It affords the public a uniform place where any portion of, I'm not saying we're city government because again, we're an instrumentality of the state, but if anybody's interested in what's going on with the Port Authority, although we have it on our website, having it in the city's uniform location where it's a board of works, the street department or sanitation, it's all there. There's no harm in following that. Now, what we can say is, we're doing this voluntarily. We don't believe that we're obligated by statute to do so, but in a way that doesn't antagonize the city. There's no reason to antagonize the city. But what we don't want to do is say we're anything other than an instrumentality of the state. But there are some things that we're not bound to do, and we're doing this voluntarily because we want to preserve our ability to not be regulated by the city. We don't want the city to be able to say, well, you've waived X, you've waived Y, you've waived Z, so we're entitled to regulate. We don't want to give them that possibility. Correct. Again, we want to say we're an instrumentality of the state, we're separate and apart from Michigan City as a political subdivision. But again, we can do it in the interest of transparency voluntarily and to show the public, the citizens of LaPorte County and Michigan City what's going on here. It doesn't hurt us to do that, so I would recommend we do. Here's something. The failure to comply with Ordinance 4733's requirements as to submitting the agendas and the minutes can result in the mayor's office ordering the board not to have any meetings. There's no way that the mayor can tell us we can't have meetings. Again, we're an instrumentality of the state, and the Port Authority, under statute, and it's Indiana Code 8-10-5-5A, the Port Authority is governed by its board of directors. We're not governed by the city. A Port Authority created in accordance with the provisions of this chapter shall be governed by a board of directors. This board sets its meeting schedule, and the mayor cannot tell us we can't have a meeting. So that does not apply to us, and if we have to litigate it, we litigate it. Unless the statute provides for it, this is another portion of ordinance number 4733. A city board, we are not a city board, may not execute contracts or apply for or execute grants on behalf of the board of the city. The Port Authority by statute is allowed to enter into contracts and apply for and execute grants. That's Indiana Code 8-10-5-8 and -20. Therefore, the provisions of the ordinance do not apply to the Port Authority. And then finally, Ordinance 4733 provides that no member shall receive compensation for a meeting that the member does not attend. That can't apply to us. Again, there is a specific statutory provision that provides each member of the board of directors of the Port Authority shall be entitled to receive from the Port Authority such sum of money as the board of directors may determine as compensation for the member's service as director. We have a board rule that provides when a board member will not receive compensation. This is a specific statutory grant of authority to us. The city's ordinance cannot override that. So the Port Authority, having statutory authority, will follow its board rule, not the ordinance. Any questions? Yes, Mr. Ferguson.
Joe, I support wholeheartedly what you said, but my concern is, that if and when the city administration that takes us up on that we're not doing something, that we be very, very careful that we don't come across too strongly, because we all want to work together.
I agree.
And I would think that in all cases of the items that are on that list you just read, that we want to work together with the city to compromise if we feel it's necessary, to make sure that the mayor and her administration sees that we are, hey, we're all part of the same thing. We didn't set up that we're part of a state versus the city. That was none of us here back in '59 when this was established saw that. But so I would not want to take a conflicting attitude.
Adversarial.
Thank you. Adversary relationship on any of those items, and those that are in conflict with us somehow, that make sure that the people that represent the board, which is the president and the harbor master, confer. I would guess the two of you confer with Joe, and then no one else has the right, none of the other board members has the right, unless given that right, to speak about any of this stuff.
Right, I agree wholeheartedly. We don't want to be in an adversarial position with the city. However, we do want to maintain our separate identity as an instrumentality of the state. So I don't think we let the city roll over us and tell us we're bound to things that we're not bound to.
But I'm just not saying it as strongly as you did.
I concur.
You're the people that speak for the board,
Right.
in conjunction with your advice. So that's just the direction that I would say.
I agree 100%.
Maybe a nice conversation with Amber, just to kind of make sure that we're all on the same page.
Yes, I'm
We're not
happy.
trying to fight anybody, we're just saying that's the rules that we live by.
Right.
And we're not on the list of boards and everything else that she was trying to correct. When I talked with Angie, she was, you guys handled your budget really well, everything's in good placement, you guys make the good decisions. So
Yeah.
really the egregiousness was more subtle in other areas.
Other areas, yeah.
That I'm not gonna go into that, but anyway, it's right. Our other thing about the social media was because there were so many other people controlling city Facebook pages,
Yeah.
that she had to wrangle it all back in, so that was the target there, so. And then we're not on the target list of this whatsoever.
And I'm not going to put us on.
No.
I'm not going to make it started.
I think we can all see why the mayor has done what she did, because she sees the problem out there, an administrative concern for her city, and she wants to tie it up and bring it together.
Yeah. She's the chief executive of the city, and she's
right.
responsible for all these departments and boards.
I agree wholeheartedly that, hey, that's what she's getting paid for.
Right, exactly right.
I'd you still recommend that we sign that form that we have read it?
I
Understand?
would, the disclosure of the conflict of interest, right, because in the interest of transparency, we want the citizens of LaPorte County and Michigan City and the city of LaPorte to know we don't have conflicts. We're acting in good faith in their best interest. I don't see any harm in doing that.
Marion, did we already do that?
They
Okay.
did.
Okay.
I'll accept you.
Is our
Okay, sound good.
Is our conflict of interest statement, is it similar or all inclusive to
It's
what?
similar, I think
Do we need to do the city one just to fall in line?
yeah, we would do the city one as well.
Then we need to, your suggestion is
We did it last
that
meeting.
we
We did it last meeting.
did?
Yes.
I don't remember that. Getting old. All right, good.
Okay, so we're good on that.
Yeah.
And then I will get the name of the mayor's designee for purposes of submitting the agenda and the minutes. Perhaps what we do, I could draft some language for when we first send it over. It probably is going to put us on the radar a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to make us a target. But if we do become a target, then we'll address whatever concerns the city has. But to say we're doing this voluntarily.
Yep. Good.
in the clerk's office before, we've always sent the agenda and the minutes. It's just to a different
Yeah, it's
place.
it's a different email
different,
address.
yeah.
And then it's going to be, there's a specific website. In fact, I looked at it. I don't remember what it's called now, but there's a specific website where all the agendas and all the minutes are. They're all located there. Yeah, so that's where she wants it to go as opposed to the clerk's office.
Right, talking about the Michigan City webpage.
I don't think so.
It goes to like, minutes go to minutes,
Yeah.
something, agenda goes to agenda, something.
Oh, right.
That's it. It's a different
It's a
website now.
Right,
person.
they got Tyler, his
Yeah.
name is actually Tyler.
I think you're right.
Department.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna, now that I'm slowly getting back into the swing of things, I'm gonna continue on the review of our various policies to see if there are any updates that are necessary. So I'll continue working through that. And that's all I have.
Good. Yeah, but like I said, the mayor's definitely doing things to be more proactive and positive, not to be a detriment to anybody, so
Yeah.
I don't think we'll have any issues, quite honestly. No new business, anybody have any new business?
Maybe old, I thought you said old.
Old business.
Old business, couple notes I wrote down there, and I'd like it for the meeting minutes, and maybe Mr. Frank can emphasize on it, but we thought we were gonna have the Coast Guard represented here today to talk to us about coverage of the Coast Guard station. Maybe just say that you have approached them, I think twice now to get them here, so it's something, we're not dragging on.
Right.
Right, so I'd like to have that in minutes. I checked into another thing, was the pavilion at the yacht club. It's been kicked around as to who actually owns the pavilion. I know the land underneath it, we own, we as the Port Authority. It's been kicked around, do we own the pavilion? Does the yacht club own it? And talking with some of the representatives from way back, they did, some yacht club members did build the structure 15 years ago maybe. They put the structure up in an agreement they had with the Port Authority. When their 5-year term or something was up, we would take ownership of the pavilion. And I think what brought this up, there was damage to the roof from the hail, and no one seemed to know who actually owned the structure. I know we do not insure it, the yacht club does not insure the pavilion. So, if we need to look a little further, I would like to know actually who does, if we need to put it into our insurance possibly for future years.
Well,
Is there a written agreement?
Apparently it was. They told me it's a lot of years ago. We did re-roof the place or patch it or something 10 years ago maybe. We, the Port Authority, was it more than that? I know we did that, we paid to have that done, so almost like, yeah, we do own it, we're gonna take care of it. Possibly they didn't have the funds to do it at that time, and it's something needed
well,
to be done.
anybody is in a lease, is the leasee and uses a structure as far as their rental property, they would be ultimately responsible for that property, I believe is how that would go.
Well, sometimes the lessor or the landlord will be responsible for the structure, the roof, the walls, the foundation. It just depends on how the lease reads. But very often, like a triple net lease, net of taxes, net of insurance, and net of maintenance, in some instances, the lessor, the lessee, the tenant,
Correct.
can be responsible for maintenance, including roof, walls, foundation. It just depends on how the lease reads.
We need to do some digging, is what
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
trying to
know
say.
what Mr. Faber, when you youth want to do it, if you want me to continue on to see if I can find any paperwork, not that I would have it.
If it's a legal document,
Yeah, they turned it over to us.
If you can find anything from the yacht club side, that would be good.
Yeah.
And then we'll look around on this
So I
side.
have your approval to continue to research it.
Yeah, if you want contact with them and find something, that's fine. But, it's needle in the haystack stuff, as far as I can tell.
But then maybe
not, you know, you're looking for something other than verbiage, you're looking for a piece of paper.
Yeah, because I would have understood that, that was turned over at the time they
Because
go.
there's a verbal agreement, that means nothing.
Right. And then nobody knows who owns it, probably them.
But we should have it resolved by then,
Yeah.
by the end of the year. We should have some kind of.
I'll check further into it, maybe not my next meeting, but in the future, I'll see what more I can find out and get you any paperwork I can. So, that's all I have for full business.
Mr. Freeze or Cooper, anything at the end here? You guys good?
I have one thing,
Kim?
kind of new business that Mr. Ferguson talked about with the possibility of talking about rates for raising and lowering the piers. Are you gonna think about doing that as a flat, this is how much it costs every time, or are you thinking about doing it as a structure?
We did
Something to think.
We did a fixed amount
Did you do
already. It's
fixed?
gonna come in effect next season.
Gotcha, okay.
So yeah, you
Alright.
had this meeting before you came forward, that's why.
See, I gotta come 5
That's
minutes
for the
earlier.
second time, not the original.
No, we were still doing the first. Yeah, so if you get a new slip over in and there's, wants to get accommodated. Yeah,
Okay.
but the second time, then there'll be a fee.
Thank you.
I had one other thing I forgot to bring up earlier. Have you heard anything on the boat races in regards to the big boats not coming?
I have heard things, when you say the big boats, you mean race boats?
Yep.
Or like course marker boats?
I heard the race boats.
I have not heard that.
I heard that the larger race boats aren't coming due to not having enough support from helicopter and divers. They were concerned about safety, but supposedly all of the small boats are coming. And the
I
big
have
boats
not.
supposedly are racing in Sheboygan.
Right, well, I've not heard that.
Okay.
I have heard that they're having issues finding volunteers
Okay.
to staff
anchor boats,
the,
yeah.
turn boats,
Mhm.
dive boats, whatever. I've heard they're having issues finding people for that.
Okay.
But I've not heard that it's affecting the racers yet, but
Yeah. Okay.
could be.
All right. That's it.
Mr. Cooper?
Just gonna mention that when you're talking of the pavilion, I believe you're talking about the yacht club holding group, not the yacht club.
Right. The top people, not the two side people.
The only group wasn't even there at the time it was built, I believe, or the agreement was turned over. Is that correct?
I believe there was a new agreement, I think around 2003 or 4, something like that. I think there was a new, like a 35-year lease or 30-year lease. But I don't know.
Thank you.
Well, maybe I have a backup on my committee then to work with me on finding some of that stuff out.
There you go. All right, anything else, anybody?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh,
I'll second.
all right.
July 15th, the next meeting.
I make a comment.
Yeah, of course.